Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Fandom Empire YouTube channel. This is the House of the Empire show, episode, I think it's 28. I have to double check. We didn't actually need notes for tonight's show, so we are going to be joined this evening by all four panelists. We thought we might have a couple special guests, but it seems like it's fallen through with both of them, so it is what it is. But it is May the 25th, 2026. Crazy. Where the hell does time go? And I don't just mean Christmas feels like it was a month and a half ago. I mean, you know, to make things real scary here, Johnny, 8 years ago, we were going to see Solo. That's nuts.
Yeah, it is.
I'm still trying to get over the fact I'm seeing both of you on camera for a change. This is like new for me. It's been so long.
Did you really had to bring it up, Randy? Now it's like,
of course I did.
It's gonna break in like 5 minutes now, and we're gonna lose it for the rest of the night.
The last time I was on camera, my windows in my car where I am now, because that's where you got to go to have some privacy, were frozen. They were frozen right over. And you know what? That wasn't all that long ago. You know, it was about 7 weeks ago or so. That's how long winter lasted, which is just crazy. But tonight we're going to talk about the new Star Wars movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu, directed and written by Jon Favreau himself. Definitely have a bunch of thoughts on the movie. Want to hear about people's experience going to see the movie, what the atmosphere was like. We're going to talk a little bit about the future of Star Wars at the end of the show. So yeah. Randy, how's it going, man? How are you doing tonight?
Not doing too bad. Had a nice long weekend since it's Memorial Day weekend. Got to watch a nice AEW pay-per-view last night, which was phenomenal, and just been chilling, man. It's been one of those weekends where I finally got a chance to just kind of kick my feet back and not have to worry about anything going into obviously the end of the month and work week, but that's just life. So short week, lot to do, but you know what, for now just talking Star Wars, and that's exactly how I want to end my night on a Monday night.
I'm hoping that will be my next weekend, because the last fucking 9 days have been just nuts. I'm gonna take this moment here before we get to Johnny and our other panelists who will be joining us, to say thank you to everybody that reached out about my son Jensen, who had to go through emergency foot surgery a week ago today. That was a disaster of an event, and it could have been a lot worse than what it is, like significantly. But we're here. He's good. He got to see the movie. He's happy, and moving on. Also, in the vein of bad news, news that was just shocking. I couldn't believe it. I know this isn't a Star Wars. Sorry, this isn't a NASCAR show, but apologies for the lighting. I didn't bring my keys out, so I'm gonna be lit and not lit, lit and not lit. This way it's gonna roll tonight. But Kyle Busch, two-time NASCAR champion, the most winningest NASCAR driver of all time across the 3 series, tragically passed away due to severe pneumonia that led to sepsis. It's crazy. 2 days prior to him passing, he's with his son at a go-kart track and racing with him, and then just like that, he's gone. It shows how fragile life is. And if there's one piece of advice I can offer anyone, is never assume that you have another couple decades or couple years or couple months or even couple days. Tell those that you love them and hold them close, because life is cruel and you never know when it's going to end. Johnny, how's it going?
It's going. It's a Monday night. Like Randy said, had a great weekend. Not just seeing the movie and hanging out, but wrestling Saturday night, wrestling Sunday night. It's been a good weekend. I am ready to talk about this movie.
I'm actually pumped. I've had time to think about this, and I actually wrote out a review that I'm going to read on here as we go through our initial thoughts. Just because I was so all over the place, roller coaster like, and being it's been a couple of days now, and for Randy even longer. I'm pumped to talk about this for a variety of reasons. So, also joining us today, he is, if this crappy program will let me add him, the man behind Zap himself, Mr. Zach Arnold. What's going on, buddy? You're in the Millennium Falcon. Nice, nice.
It was whatever popped up for me. I was gonna take it and run with it. Usually I have Winterfell behind me, but I think I did this for another episode we did not too long ago, so I just kept it. It sure beats whatever's going on behind me, because we're getting ready to start packing up at the end of the summer. So in between movie watching and packing and traveling, it's a busy summer for us, but I'm excited to be here.
All right. So as we said off the top, we're gonna talk about the Mandalorian and Grogu. The way we're going to do it is we're going to give our initial non-spoiler thoughts on the movie, and then we're going to get into to each act. So there's 3 acts and a 3-act play, and we'll talk about the movie. And then at the end of the show, we'll talk about the future of Star Wars, because a new Star Wars movie comes out, and the fandom starts talking about what's next. That's just kind of how this thing works. I'm going to do this a little not clockwise here, because I know you're fresh from a viewing. I believe it's first viewing, second viewing, Zach? I can't remember.
Depends on who you ask. You're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view. But yes, I am fresh from a viewing with my dad and my wife, and with our good buddy Mondo. He made the trek over to watch it with us, and pretty much everybody that I could tell said that they had fun with this movie. It was a fun film. It is not like Andor level gritty, but it's not supposed to be. It's a popcorn flick, and my wife literally had an entire tub of popcorn with me in this film. I think it's the first time we've actually bottomed out a popcorn bucket in a while. So it was the epitome of a popcorn flick, and we all kind of hovered in the ballpark of maybe a 7 out of 10 for different reasons, one way or another. And I think based on some of the other responses that I've seen around, and some of the other reviews that I've been watching, I feel like it's kind of an appropriate range to be thinking of. But who knows? Maybe the discussion tonight will elevate it or bring it down a little bit based on how you all feel about it and how you guys in the chat feel about it. I see Dustin is in the chat tonight, and I feel like there were some other people that were in the chat as well. So join us, let us know what you guys thought of it. But off the rip, for me, it's fun. I don't know if it's gonna make me say Star Wars is back, but it does make me say that I had a fun couple of hours, and now I'm gonna have a couple of more fun hours talking about it. So that's the baseline of what you can ask for. I don't think it exceeded expectations, but it probably met them.
All right. I'm going to jump the line here and go, just because the screen keeps flickering on me and it's annoying me. I did intend to let Randy and Johnny go first, but my OCD is getting to me here, so my apologies. And then we'll have Johnny follow up and Randy go last. This is going to be a little bit all over the place, because I started writing this Saturday night, and I've been editing it as I go. The more I've had a chance to sit down and think about things. So here goes. And also, as always, and I say this with any movie, you'll hear me say it when we talk about Toy Story 5, the new Spider-Man, Starfighter next year, Avengers, the Batman 2, whatever. Your opinions are your own opinions, and you should feel the way about something that you feel, whether it's positive, negative, neutral, whatever. They're your thoughts. So for me, I must say, as I was writing this, I said I need to take a moment so I don't go overboard and let recency bias take over. But I was pleasantly surprised, and that may actually be underselling it. I would say I was taken back by it. I went in with low expectations, not expecting much. So I wasn't setting an unrealistic bar. And by the time the end credits rolled, I actually found myself in absolute awe that 7 years after the dumpster fire that was The Rise of Skywalker, Lucasfilm and Disney managed to make a film that was miles worse than that shit show from 2019. It's been 7 years since our last theatrical release, new one that is, and you deliver a soulless, storyless, gutless motion picture film that wouldn't even be a top 20 episode in The Mandalorian, and there's only 24 episodes in the whole fucking series. And I can say that with confidence because over the last 6 weeks, I've watched every one of those 24 episodes with my 6-year-old boy. I lost my spot because I wanted to look up. I could get into why this film is a disaster and defines lazy when it comes to filmmaking, but we have all night for that. The silver lining is my 6-year-old, who just went through the most traumatic week of his life, enjoyed it. So at the end of the day, I'm a thrilled dad. And I was equally thrilled that I did not waste my time and put my body through absolute hell to go see this opening night because I wouldn't have made it home till 3 o'clock in the morning that night. I've always said that you should love what you love, dislike what you dislike based on how you feel and not how others feel. But if you are someone older than the age of 10 applauding this film and think that this meets your bar for what a quality Star Wars film should be, I firmly believe you're part of the problem. There's no quality control with this film. It's astonishing that a film with next to no real actors, basic sets, and a beyond bland story somehow cost what it did. It's not like I went into this thing with unrealistic expectations. I think all three of you, more so Johnny and Randy, can say for about the last year, my bar was very low. I didn't go into this thing thinking we were getting Andor, although it would have been nice. It didn't help that Disney and Lucasfilm just outright lie about stuff, just like every movie studio does. Only this time it was on display. According to them, these weren't pieced together episodes from Mando season 4, when in fact they were, because reports were coming out about season 4 before they announced the movie officially. And a lot of those reports line up with what we've seen across this movie. Then you have the stance that Johnny, Randy, and I covered on the show about how Lucasfilm was adamant Pedro was on set all the time, and we had the report that they filmed for a few days before principal photography to get his face in there because he would not be a part of any of the principal photography of this film, which he was not, even though they're telling you otherwise. We covered this on the show moons ago. They set up a few days for him to film. The movie's paced terribly and edited even worse. It's astonishing that this is a Jon Favreau film. There is literally no character arc in the movie for the characters. Think about it. Think about where Din Djarin and Grogu start the movie, and think about where they end the movie. This isn't an opinion. It's a fact. No matter how much fun you had at the movie, or if you thought it was a 10 out of 10, there's no growth at all for the characters during the movie, which is frustrating. Also, if you went to a screening because Disney Studios Canada or Disney US let you attend the red carpet, and all you do is endlessly praise what they do, and you get on others for anything critical they may have to say about the film, you aren't a journalist, you don't have an unbiased opinion, you're doing nothing but pander to the corporate overlords, you are essentially a yes man without an ounce of credibility. People that hate on this film too, and obviously I did not enjoy it for me personally. I love that my son loved it though. Um, we have no bar. Our show's small, right? Our audience is small. We aren't where we were with Halloween Kills, and we had 200 plus people here, 300 plus people here on a live stream. We're here because we have fun doing this still. So at the end of the day, there's no one, giving Johnny and I free passes to go see this in Canada, or giving Zach and Randy free passes to see it in the States, regardless of how much you like or don't like the movie. We're just here telling how we feel. And my opinion only represents myself, not anyone else. But I'll end on a positive. This movie is clearly directed at young children. Andor was for adults. Maul Shadow Lord was a combination of both. Skeleton Crew, towards kids. Ahsoka, a little bit of a combination of both. Maybe this film just wasn't for me. And I guess that's okay. It's a hard thing to learn to accept when you're younger. All the Star Wars movies, at least for me, were for me. And now they're not. And same with the TV shows. It doesn't change the lazy shortcuts they took or the lack of quality filmmaking that's on display for 2+ hours. the few kids at our viewing definitely got a few laughs from the movie. And for my son, through the worst week of his life, it provided him some joy, happiness, and a fucking $20 popcorn bucket. Thanks a lot, Johnny.
Only 20? Up here, they're like 30.
This was just the
We were
standard
on our
metal
way
one.
to the till, and this fucking guy has to grab a collector tin fucking popcorn bucket. Our stuff's already paid for because we got our stuff from Costco, where you get like the toque and watch and dine thing at a discounted price. And Jensen goes, "Daddy, look what Johnny has." And it's just like, oh, you son of a bitch.
Just be glad they didn't have the cup too.
We were hoping we could just upgrade, right? Pay a little bit of money and upgrade to the tin. Nope, had to buy it outright. Sorry, I know that was long. But I've been waiting days to get that off, and it's been really triggering for me from both sides, watching the people who hate everything Star Wars, who clearly haven't seen the movie and couldn't tell you a thing about the movie, hate on it for the sake of hating on it, and then hate on people that are positive about it. But equally, it's been incredibly annoying to watch the people who have seen the movie and just hate on anyone that has anything critical to say about it. It reminds me why I'm very glad to be here doing this show with these people, because you people, what do you mean you people? No.
Racist?
Hey, look, like Zach fucking hated Casino Royale when we did the review for that movie.
Still
Couldn't
do.
stand it.
Still
And I
do.
could not believe he hated Casino Royale because I love that movie. But you know what? That's Zach's opinion, and I respect the fact he doesn't like the movie, even though I really liked it. Johnny hates The Dark Knight Rises. I think he's fucking clueless, but that's his opinion. That's how he feels about it. I'm not going to sit here and tell him why he's wrong about that movie. You know, do I think he's wrong? Yes, but I'm not going to sit here and make 10,000 social media posts about why I think he's wrong. It's love what you love, hate what you hate. I'm very confident the next Star Wars movie is more for me. But like I said, my little boy loved it. So at the end of the day, no matter how much I didn't like it, that's still a win in my book. Johnny?
I'll follow that up, I guess. Most of what you just said, to me, is extremely accurate. You know, if you are sustained going to a movie and just enjoying the sizzle, then I think you'll have a great time with this. You know, because that's all it was. It was all sizzle and no steak. I will say this, visually, it was great. It was very clear where they spent the budget on this film. It wasn't on actors. And that's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. They, you know, everything. There weren't any moments in the film where I looked at it from like a visual standpoint and was like, oof, that don't look right. You know, like we get in a lot of other Star Wars projects lately. You know, you can always point to something where you're like, oh, that doesn't look right, whether it's the volume or the editing or something. There's always something. But this one, there wasn't really anything that, you know, from a visual standpoint that I felt negative about. The music was amazing. You know, like it was fantastic. Absolutely, without a doubt, it was the best part of that film. And you know, if those are the things that drive you, then you're going to have a great time watching this. And I envy you that, you know, because that's not like, you know, we talk about our personal bars, you know, like Sean said, the bar was low. My personal bar for this film was so low, you could probably get over it with a solid power walking start. And somehow they still stumbled. But that's because, like Sean said, it was the TV show. You know, like we're watching the movie, and there are literal points where I can sit there, and I know at a few points during it, you know, as I was sitting beside Sean, there were a few points where we both kind of looked at each other and, you know, we're like, and credits roll. You know, because you could genuinely feel where one episode stopped and the next episode started. And that's fine if that's what you're presenting. You know, like if this had been a first 3 episodes of Mandalorian season 4, watch the rest of the season, July 16th, perfect. You would have delivered on everything you could have possibly promised. But this wasn't that. This was meant to be a standalone film that wasn't. They're like, Sean brought up a very good point that I don't want to say I hadn't thought about, but wasn't something that I had thought about because it was so painful to me, was that there was no character growth throughout the course of the story. I mean, I would argue there was only one character with genuine growth, and he was at best, a tertiary character. And that's, growth from a character that low is fine, but it can't be the only. Like there were definitely points where, as I was watching this movie, where I said the Baby Yoda shtick has worn out its welcome with me. You need to do something with that character now. There needs to be genuine growth. Like if you end that film with him speaking for the first time, then I think I might come out of this with an entirely different, tone, because that's something that is monumental from a character standpoint. Like it's something you can build the future of Mandalorian lore on. But you didn't. It was just standard Baby Yoda shtick. And it got old. But, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and be entirely negative. There are a lot of negatives. There are a lot of bad things that I'm sure I'm going to say when we get to the spoiler section. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are going to be up in arms because I'm saying negative things about Baby Yoda. But, like, if you enjoyed it, I envy you. Genuinely, I envy you. If you went into this film and had a great experience enjoying the film, I genuinely envy you because I love that. I want that so badly. I want to come out of a movie and have that sort of awe and excitement that I got to see on Sean's son. Watching his enjoyment was great. Like that was the bar. Seeing him come out of it with a smile on his face and it's so much fun watching it. He loved it. It was a great movie. Seeing all of that and knowing it was genuine was great. I think there was one, I cannot for the life of me remember which point it was, but there was one point Sean kind of peeped over to me and he said, "Man, I wish I could have, the 6-year-old naivete again." I agree. I want that.
He thought Mando might be dead. So,
okay. I couldn't remember exactly which part it was, but I knew it was somewhere in that,
his favorite character in The Mandalorian ended up becoming is it Pre Vizsla? Is that the character's name? Something, I don't know.
That is John Favreau
voice. The John Favreau voiced big blue guy with the heavy gun in season 3 of Mando. He got attached to him, so when he gets killed by the Praetorian guards or whatever, and he just seen it that morning, right? Like that just happened that morning. So when he thought there was a chance Mando was actually going to die, and I'm just like, oh. No, kid, he's not dying.
But like those are the moments I yearn for. I want that experience. I know that I'm older. I get that. I understand that. I'm not gonna Ewoks and Jar Jar. Those things, they aren't for me. But I still want moments that make me go, oh, that give me that moment of joy, pure unadulterated joy, that I haven't experienced, I'd say, in a Star Wars film probably since 7. But visually it was great. It was probably the best visual Star Wars film out there because that's what they spent the budget on. The soundtrack was great. It was up there with the John Williams era scores, like it was that good musically. Everything else left a lot to be desired. But I got a $20 popcorn bucket and I made Sean spend $20 he didn't plan to. So all in all, I'd say it was a great time.
Oh, cute.
Like I said, just be glad they didn't have the cup.
Randy, I know you had a better time than Johnny and I did with this film, so feel free to appeal to the positivity.
So I'm going to say this first. I'm not hearing as much negativity as I was expecting. I was actually dreading doing this because I was just like, okay,
Oh, wait till we get to the spoiler section, Randy. It's still coming.
countdown to this being completely shit on. 5, 4, and I was like, wait a second. And of course, like Dustin in the chat, that your start to your review, Sean, you did a
I sat
you did a
beside
good
him in the theater and he got me.
You did a great job.
It's like
pulling the swerve, like you're watching wrestling, you're going, oh my god, he's gonna do it, and I was like, oh, you son of a bitch.
It was the Mark Henry retirement speech. That's what it was.
They had us in the first half. Not gonna lie.
So
I sat beside him in the theater and he got me with that one. So, like, bravo.
I salute you, sir. You did your job. So my wife and I went Thursday night. Obviously, it wasn't packed for obvious reasons, but ultimately, like you, Sean, your kid had a great time. When the movie was over, my wife looked at me. She clapped her hands quietly and says, "Oh my God, that was amazing! Can we go see it again?" And her birthday's next weekend, so guess what I'm going to do next weekend? So plus the people in the theater actually laughing, having a good time. There was no real, I sat like during the credits to listen to people, and they weren't negative with what they were saying. It sounds like they had a real fun time. And so that made me happy. The music was awesome. The visuals, some of the fight choreography was really cool. I kind of agree with Sean in the pacing issues. There was times when I'm like, okay, why is nothing happening? We're just walking here. Come on, I need something.
That second act.
But
my kid loved it, but you can ask Johnny. I had to like nudge him like 5 times to be like, "Hey man, don't fall asleep. Come on, get up, get up."
So yes, there were some pacing issues. Yes, there wasn't any real stakes or real crazy story here, which a little frustrating. But again, it was just, I'm there. I'm going to just kind of shut my brain off a little bit, kind of vibe with everybody and watch the movie. And that's what I did. And that's what, and I, I had a fun time with it. There was some stuff I liked. There was some stuff that I just kind of went, yeah, this should have been season 4. I literally just sat there and I'm like, you could have taken this, expanded upon it, added some character growth, some character moments that really would have helped build to an epic season finale here. And this would have and the bones are there, like the structure for something that would have been, this is our apology for season 3. The structure was there. They had something, and they and Disney was like, no, we want a movie. Well, there you go. That's what you get for basically going, this is what we have. Well, I guess this is what you're going to get. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating because I like the characters. I've enjoyed watching them grow through the seasons, and to just kind of feel like they didn't give me anything to really bite my teeth on here, to cut my teeth on here. It's a little frustrating, but all in all, it was still a fun time. It's not like I absolutely hated the movie. I mean, I'm probably thinking in terms of what Zach's thinking in terms of the score. Like, I looked at like Rotten Tomatoes, and I've looked at like IMDb, and I'm kind of more in the range of what IMDb has got it ranked versus Rotten Tomatoes. But you know what? The positive is, when you look at, like, if you're going to go solely, not saying, what we're doing, but if you went solely based on the popcorn meter for Rotten Tomatoes, people are liking it. And I'm not saying, they're not saying it's, absolute cinema, because it's definitely not. But, if you want to shut your brain off for a couple hours and have some fun, kick back with some popcorn and a soda, have at it. Because, that's what you're going to get. And honestly, that's okay for now. I'm not satisfied. I'm not satiated in any way. I was more satiated with Maul than anything else. But this, as a first attempt back in theaters in a while, it could have been better. And that's saying something, considering usually how overtly positive I am when it comes to these types of movies. So I obviously all in on Starfighter next year, all in on Ahsoka season 2. And, hopefully at least later this year, gaming will come through with something, because I need that fix, and that mall gave me, man. I need that, and this just wasn't it, unfortunately.
I'm stunned. I actually thought you were gonna come in here and I was gonna have to call you the name of someone else or a couple of somebody else's.
You wanted me to be objective. I went in with zero expectations, and I was like, okay, it got to here, but it didn't get to here. Here, I mean, and I know we're never going to get anything like Empire Strikes Back or Revenge of the Sith ever again.
Those would be unrealistic expectations for sure.
So, but I know that if I can get episode 7, I'm pretty happy. I'll take Solo level, because Solo is actually a better movie than people give it credit for. It just happened to come out at a time when Star Wars oversaturation was a real thing, and it just was poor timing for the release of it.
Yes, Solo is 100 times better than this thing. And I've barely seen Solo. Let's dive into it, though. Act 1, we kick off on a snow planet. I don't remember if they identified this planet in the movie or not. God knows they have in some sort of visual dictionary or book that has come out that I don't own. But you have Mando and Grogu on the Hoth-like planet hunting an Imperial warlord. You got, is it Brendan Wayne? Is that John Wayne's grandson's name? Does a lot of the work. I know there's another actor that's in there too.
It's him, and then Lateef Crowder does the action pieces.
Yeah, the two of them together really bring that character to life, visually speaking. You get, the moment on the base, the moment with the Imperial walkers. You get Zeb appearing, which I'm sure popped Rebels fans. I don't know if anybody, the casual viewer who's never watched Star Wars Rebels gave a shit or not, but they get back to where what was Sigourney Weaver's character's name?
Colonel Ward, I think.
Colonel Ward, yeah, I think that's right. Let me tell you, she's fucking awful in this movie. That is, for everyone that hates on fucking Jake Lloyd and Hayden in episode 2, there is absolutely no effort whatsoever given in her performance in this movie, the little that she's in it. It was, Sigourney Weaver, that's a name, I'll take the paycheck, and goodbye. Could not believe how bad she is, considering how good she is in so many other things.
What, for example? Because that was going to be my counterpoint. Aside from Aliens, what is she good in? What does she not phone it in for? Genuinely, because I saw her in Holes, I saw her in Galaxy Quest, I saw her in this, I've seen her in other voice acting roles. All of those look like she's phoning it in. What besides Aliens is she not phoning it in?
Galaxy Quest?
I was about to say, she was great in Galaxy Quest.
Nah, she phoned it in. Her boobs talked more than she did.
And she phoned it in Ghostbusters? Okay.
Yeah, Ghostbusters.
I'm feeling some.
So you agree though, Zach, that you thought she phoned it in this movie?
I think she phones it in everything, though. So
yeah.
I didn't have any expectations from her to begin with. I have not enjoyed a thing she's put out since Aliens.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to top that. I mean, I liked her in Ghostbusters, and I didn't mind her in Galaxy Quest from what I remember, but I haven't seen that movie since before my oldest child was born, and he turns 18 in a month and a half. So that tells you something. Tells you to not go off of my opinion when it comes to there, or when it comes to that. But anyways, Mando goes back, gets the quest from her, goes to, I can't remember the name of the Nar Shaddaa looking planet.
Nal Hutta.
No, it's before Nal Hutta. Sorry, he goes to Nal Hutta, and then he goes to the Nar Shaddaa looking planet with Martin Scorsese, who I thought honestly was fantastic as a voiceover in that. I don't think we should be talking about Martin Scorsese being fantastic as a voice performer in one of these movies when we should be talking about all these other amazing actors that do these amazing things. But there is no fucking actors in this movie. It's all fucking directors making cameos and shit. And
the name of the movie is Shikari.
Shikari, the theme for that planet, man, that was amazing. I loved the music they used for that. And that's really up until meeting Hut Boy there, played by Jeremy Allen White. That's really your first act, the crux of what happens. There's really nothing else that happens in that first act. And I would say that the first act, in my opinion, was the best part of the movie. Like, I thought it was far and away better than the rest of the movie. And sure enough, that's what they showed audience members when they were doing all these preview screenings for, showing the first 20, 25, 30 minutes of the movie. And like, I get why they were showing that off. Zach, I'll go to you, man. It's been a bit. What did you think of the first act of this movie? Did it give you more hope than you had going in?
I appreciated the larger budget that went into the AT-AT fight. I definitely don't think we would have gotten something like that from the TV show. So it kind of set like a medium to slightly higher bar by making that the first fight, because I didn't see that type of explosions or that type of action sets that much from Mando. Like, it would be a season finale if it was going to be that type of personnel and that type of CGI and that type of explosions. So it was fun to kind of see that, to like catch you up on how our characters have been and what they've been up to lately. But it was very predictable. I knew that those walkers were coming down. I knew that the bad guy was either going to get captured or killed. I knew that nothing was going to happen to our heroes, because you don't do that in the first act. So it was fun. It was cool. It was, action packed, but it was fairly predictable too. But I feel like that's going to be something we say a lot about this film, is like, there was a lot that was to be expected, a lot that was okay. It's not about what happens to these characters. It's kind of more about how we get there. How do we arrive at this point? Um, I'm actually gonna pull a Star Trek reference, just because while I have the floor, I'm gonna pull the Star Trek card. Shows like the original series, Next Generation, and Voyager all have what's called a circular storytelling format. Everything is great off the top of the episode. Some sort of a crisis happens in the first third. The crisis intensifies by the second third, and you come to a resolution by the end of the episode where everything is basically back to status quo. Everything is back to normal. You hit the reset button for the next week and come across your new problem in next week's episode. They did that on purpose back in the day, because not everybody was able to watch every single episode on a streamer the way you can today. And they wrote it with the intention of, we're going to follow these characters and their adventure on a week by week basis, so that you can drop in anytime you're able to watch Star Trek and be able to watch it and enjoy it, and then not have to worry about what happens next week if you're busy next week. This felt like a giant full circle storytelling moment. Aside from a couple of Imperial warlords that are from the season 3 finale Shadow Council that Gideon is talking to, 2 of those warlords get eliminated in this movie. That is probably the biggest stake that happens in the whole film. Other than that, everything basically just comes full circle again. And so when you have that type of storytelling in a movie, the first act is really just about reintroducing the characters and nothing more. So, yeah, it's a fun fight scene, but when you go in with the perspective that really nothing's going to happen and it's all going to be happily ever after by the end of the movie, then you're not as concerned about the stakes in the first act.
Yeah, I enjoyed some of the action in the first act, and watching Mando kick some ass, and I thought it was cute that Grogu was like tapping him on the helmet like, dude, Dad, we gotta get fucking going here. You're taking too long. You're gonna get us killed. Like, yeah, that was cute. Even I found it cute, right? The Sigourney Weaver stuff really took me out of it. Like, I'd have to go back and look at some of her movies again, but like, it just, one of the problems just in this movie in general is there are next to no actors, you know, and the people that we're following are a guy behind a mask. And people can say, "Oh, Darth Vader! Darth Vader's not the fucking main character in the original trilogy. Now is he?" And they want you to believe he is, but go count how much time he spends on screen. Go do it. You'll be shocked how little he's on screen in those 3 movies. And a puppet, right? Who obviously emotes better now than when the show first appeared, but you know, it's kind of a glorified fucking episode of Power Rangers. And I need actors. Like, I know Game of Thrones has. Zach might be able to speak for this a bit. I mean, he watches some other stuff too, and I know he's a Lord of the Rings guy. But like Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon have kind of ruined this for me in a way. Like even Night of the Seven Kingdoms, fellas. Like, I need good acting in a movie. I just do. I need to be able to see their performance. And there's just none of it in this movie. And but like I said, the first act, the action was fun. It gave me a little bit of hope. I don't know where people like. I agree with what Zach said in terms of seeing the AT-ATs and a bit of the battle there. How we wouldn't have gotten that in the first or in the seasons for the most part. But I got to tell you, I don't know where Johnny's getting the visuals were good for this movie. They are boring. They're plain. They're bland. And the number one example I can give you, and you can search it up right now, I dare you to Google it, is go Google what the AT-ATs or whatever model they are in this movie, go Google what they look like. Find the highest resolution picture you can, and then hold it side by side with the walkers that we see in The Last Jedi, a movie that came out 9 years ago, was made 10 and a half years ago. The visuals aren't close, fellas. They're not close at all. The Last Jedi, a movie that I'm not the biggest fan of, looks a million times better. This is the settings you get in this movie. I thought Shikari looked decent. It kind of reminded me of that planet Obi-Wan goes to rescue Leia on in Kenobi. Gave me that kind of vibe, but a little more impressive, bigger budget, obviously. But outside of that, you get the boring fucking rebel base. You get the snow planet, which you see none of. And you get some fucking woods area in California that they're trying to play off to be Nal Hutta. There is nothing impressive visually in this movie. Zach's waving his finger.
I'm going to have to stop you there, buddy. I'm going to have to stop you there because that is actually not California, and I will not hear any slander about my home state. Thank you very much. So fuck you and fuck your feelings about the forests, because that is actually East Texas that they filmed in, and they are using Texas for the very first time in the Star Wars universe with the introduction of the live-action Nal Hutta. If anything, that is the best set that they have in the whole movie because of how swamp-like and immersive it feels. It is the closest thing to fucking Dagobah that we've ever had, and it's because they didn't use a fucking soundstage in London. They used a real-life fucking swamp, so fuck you and your feelings.
Well, I could show you a forest about, or a woods area about, I don't know, 100 feet outside my window if it wasn't dark, that looks fucking miles better than that in terms of being believable as Nal Hutta. Maybe the way that it looks in real life looks good, but the way they chose to shoot it and depict it on camera does not do it justice.
I think the problem with me and the way they presented Nal Hutta specifically was the dichotomy of environment. You know, they made such a, like, if that's one thing Star Wars kind of has, is that I don't want to say that, most planets, but a majority of Star Wars planets are sort of mono-environmental, in that they're individually one sort of biome. There aren't as many that kind of run the gamut between them. Where Nal Hutta, you had like, Tatooine-ish with the spires and where they were actually residing, and was more of that. But yeah, you had water. Like I don't think they understood Nal Hutta and what it was supposed to be like. To me, it just didn't feel like the Nal Hutta I expected. Like, to me, just I don't know.
I mean, no, you're right. They changed it, not just from Legends, but from depictions we've gotten in canon and novels. It's
I like the actual like looks, like the forest stuff. I like that, but it felt so opposite to the shots. And this could just be like just the way they use the establishing shots of Nal Hutta and flying over it. It didn't have that woodsy swampiness to it. It felt more like a blooming Arizona-esque type environment to me that doesn't fit well with these sort of East Texas, Louisiana style swamps and marshes that we actually saw. Like, I think that's kind of like, to me, that's where the opposite thing lasts. Like, and it, it's not this. Like, I like the look, like the actual wood stuff. I like when Star Wars gets woodsy. I like the forest moon of Endor. I like those sort of things, and
for sure. And I mean that's for you and Zach to both be, if that's the type of area that you prefer in Star Wars. Like, not to get too far off on a tangent here, but like that's another issue I have in this movie, and it happened with a lot of the TV series too. It's what happened to Star Wars? Why are we not spending more time in fucking space where we're supposed to be? How long are we in space for this movie? Well, we're not in hyperspace. Fucking 90 seconds, maybe? If that? And again, I'm not knocking Zach's area where he lives. I'm simply saying, like you mentioned, the Forest Moon of Endor. I find that boring. It's not an exciting planet to me. What's the planet where they're on at the beginning of Rise of Skywalker? Like, boring. Give me something exciting. Give me something futuristic. I don't want fucking the same old shit. And you know what? Before Zach gets any more mad at me, get mad at Filoni and Favreau, who've been doing all this press and have hardly fucking mentioned Texas once, by the way. But when it comes to mentioning California, it's we filmed in California. We filmed right here in Los Angeles. We're the first Star Wars movie to ever film in Los Angeles, which is a lie, by the way. They filmed Return of the Jedi and Endor in Los Angeles. It's just wild, the shit that comes out of Lucasfilm PR mouth in the head of it. And I'm a Filoni guy. And it's just like, do you not know your Star Wars history? Maybe I'm too much of a geek and have watched too many documentaries and answered too many behind-the-scenes trivia questions. But if Texas was used as a filming spot, I didn't know of it, and they're definitely not going out of their way to let people know about it. And they should, if that's the case, whether you like the film or don't like the film.
It was a 360 cam that took environment shots, and then they incorporated it into their stagecraft. So there weren't any actors on set because they didn't have the infrastructure out there to do it. Like, there's a couple of cabins and maybe a small hotel, and that's about it. So there wasn't sufficient infrastructure to actually have the entire cast and crew out there. But they spent the better portion of 2 weeks shutting down various canals and various parts of the lake, and took a giant 360 cam, and they were recording sights and sounds and collecting imagery and stuff, and then they filled in the gaps and incorporated it into the stuff that they did with stagecraft and CGI afterwards.
That's another thing that's killing me. How many people that are going out there saying there's no stagecraft in this movie? It's like, there's not a lot of it, to be fair. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the shots they took are used as like traditional background plates at times and not just stagecraft. But like, give all your locations a shout out, not just fucking your
No, I
tax write off you got for LA. Like, I
no,
had
I
no
agree.
idea from Texas.
I agree. I'm the one that's promoting it more than they are.
You are. I've heard it more from you in this stream than I have watching a bunch of promotional material leading into the movie. I think I was like, I don't know if he's pulling my
Who
chain
said there
here or
was?
what.
Who said there was no stagecraft? They even had they even listed a stagecraft team in the credits.
Oh, I know, but there's some popular people that are maybe not popular.
Oh,
But
good lord!
yeah, that's what I mean. Whether people hate on it or love it, they twist reality to fit whatever narrative they're trying to push, whether it be positive or negative, and it drives me nuts. Johnny, sorry, that ended up becoming a tangent. And my bad, because I didn't mean to offend Zach's, where Zach's from. I had no idea, because all you hear from them is fucking Los Angeles, California, probably because they got the $22 million off for filming there. But, you know, Act 1, man, did it give you a little bit of hope at first?
Not really. It was what I thought it was. You know, as Coach Dennis Green once said, you know, it was what I thought it was. I mean, I liked the look of a lot of it, but like it didn't feel any uniquely different from just watching an episode of The Mandalorian. You know, even like we point to the walkers and things like that to me was more like so you're telling me you can literally cripple an AT-AT walker with one well-placed
With two
prox
bombs?
mine?
Yeah, two little bombs on the ankle. What the fuck was the Battle of Hoth about?
Like that kind of got me. Like, I'm like, it took an entire squadron of speeders and, you know, and rebels, and they could barely do it without literally wrapping cables around them and trapping them down. Like, you're telling me a few well-placed shots from those mounted guns that were shooting, you know, high caliber lasers couldn't have done the same thing as two well-placed, you know, prox mines could have? Like, come on now, that was ridiculous to me, on its face. But like, then there were other things that I was just like, what if we, like, you mentioned it in yours, like, you know, when Grogu was tapping on the back of Din's head, like, hello, hi, bombs, explosives, lots of them, gotta move quickly, you know, hurry up, Dad, and all that. I'm just sitting here thinking, like, the literal wall is completely gone. Like, there is a completely wide open door there. You're telling me Grogu can't just, like, all of those explosives out the side?
Fling them with the Force. Also,
exactly.
Is decompression not a thing? Like, did he have to magnetize his boots in order to avoid getting sucked out the door himself?
Oh, don't
Like,
get me started on his equipment.
Those were the things that I was just like, why is Grogu tapping on the back of his head when he has shown himself time and time again to be extremely strong in the Force, which is completely proven later in the film when he literally lifts a fucking hut out of a pit? You're telling me he couldn't just fling, you know, a few grenades out the side of a conveniently placed open door that is like 2 feet from where those things are sitting and just completely negate the explosion? Like, I get the argument of, well, that wouldn't destroy the walker. Okay, you've just shown us 5 minutes prior that a couple well-placed mines on a leg can just destroy this thing to high hell. Maybe push the bombs that are going to explode you out and then plant your own and escape properly, safely. Like, that part bugged me. Sigourney Weaver, I love Sigourney Weaver outside of this film. Like, the performances, Zach, were, you know, are knocking his phone, and I love them. You know, I love Galaxy Quest. I think part of the problem with Galaxy Quest is that's what the character is supposed to be, though. You know, it's supposed to be a character who's, you know, like Zach said, whose tits do the talking. Like, that's the character. That's the whole point. I think she does a great performance in what is written. Like, it's meant to be that way. Like, to say Ghostbusters is bad, like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Like, you know, if you'd have brought up like Heartbreakers, which was a movie she was in with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Gene Hackman in like 2000, 2001, sure. Yeah, she phoned that one in for a paycheck, but so did everyone else in the movie. But like, I didn't get any sort of emotion. Like, that's the thing that pissed me off the most, because there was one thing that was being said, like, in the build-up, that I sort of started hearing, like, in the last week or so leading up to this film, that they were comparing Colonel Ward as someone who is cut from the same cloth as Princess Leia. She's a woman who came up in the rebellion, and like, and like, I watched the performance, and it's like, I couldn't with it, because it was so cardboard, like, from Sigourney Weaver. Like, she really, like,
wet cardboard.
It was not good. Like, it was not a good Sigourney Weaver performance in any spot. And that, like, I was like, oh, that sucks. Because, like, you kind of, like, that one, I did sort of build up some expectations of, like, okay, this could be good. Like, maybe she'll be like an Admiral Holdo, type character who, gets in the thick of it and, does something fun. And nope. The most interesting thing she did was show up was she piloting an X-Wing in the third act? Like, yeah, that was just yikes. There was no stakes to anything. Like, we talked about, like I said, this was just a season of a show. It was just episodes of a show. There were so many points there where it's like, okay, this is where episode 2 ends, and this is episode 3, and that's episode 4, and, like, them escaping with Rhoda and catching, Coin. I guess that's technically second act, but, like, you get to that, and it's like, okay, so that's the mid-season finale. That's that, and it's just like, it was all episodes of the show, and it was not good episodes of the show either. Like, you could feel the condensing. I loved, like, I said this to Sean when we were watching it, Martin Scorsese's name was the third name in the credits. Like, what are we doing?
I'd go as far as to say he had the best performance in the whole movie.
You're not wrong. Like, he earned that billing, because his character was the most, multi-dimensional character in the entirety of the film, I'd say. But, like, that's the kind of character that, like, you should be like, wait, I recognize that voice. Who's that voice? And then you see the credits, it's like, holy shit, that was Martin fucking Scorsese? Not, oh, their cast is so small, we're just going to give you all those things in the beginning.
Yeah.
Scorsese's always been a great voice actor, though. I mean, he was amazing in Shark Tale, too.
I didn't even know he was in Shark Tale. I've seen it with the kids, but I wasn't able to pick him out.
Were you specifying Shark Tale 2 as in the sequel, or Shark Tale 2 as in Shark Tale as well?
As well.
Okay.
No. Was there a sequel? God,
I thought there was.
So.
I thought there was.
It's news to me if there is.
I know there was a Christian version called A Shark Story or something like that.
Oh, boy.
Well, let's get rolling here. I mean, I don't have much to say on Act 2 when we get there, but Randy, your thoughts on Act 1?
I mean, it was fine. Like, I did, like, I wasn't blown away by it. I enjoyed what I was seeing. Like I said, this is one of those movies you shut your brain off and just vibe with the crowd, and that's really all I did. And I enjoyed the action pieces. I will say I agree with Sean in the fact that when with the visuals, especially on the ice planet. So one thing that Star Wars has had a problem with the exception of a few things here and there, is anything visually done in the light never looks great. It's unfortunate. You go back to Rogue One with showing Leia, and the visuals they used for her, especially trying to do the quote unquote deep fake at the beginning of when they started doing that, versus Tarkin, where they used a lot of shadows and shading, which made it look even better. Mandalorian Grogu suffers from the same thing. Whereas if you look at this ice planet, you could see, I'm like, this is stuff I would see on TV. Like, I felt like the visuals were stuff that I would see in an episode of the show. Doesn't take away from the fact that I enjoyed the action. Doesn't take away the fact that I enjoy the destruction that happened on that planet. It's just it kind of stuck out to me a little bit. 'Cause I'm like, yeah, that's definitely CG. I'm not as immersed into the movie as I should be. If you want to talk about some well-placed explosives on those snow speeders were not meant for combat. If you look them up in the Star Wars dictionary, they weren't meant for combat, which is why their blasters were not very strong, which is why they had to go to the harpoons and tow cables, because that's kind of what they were for. They were modified for Hoth to be able to survive in the cold. That was it. They weren't meant for actual combat. But that's all they had. That's all the Rebel Alliance had. Take that for what it's worth, especially considering the different years and how far into the future we are with potentially upgrades. And I mean, that's about the only way I could explain why some Prox mines could do the damage that they do. But beyond that, going to Al Hutta, it was cool. I mean, this is my first that I can remember the first visuals that I've ever seen for Al Hutta. So I was fine with it. I thought it was really cool. The color palette, is what it is. You can only do so much with browns and greens. And again, then we get to Shikari and the start of that, where I thought that was really great. I thought the music was excellent. I was going, and I enjoyed the music so much in this movie. I'm actually going to buy it on vinyl because it was great. I loved it. They did such an amazing job with that. And that's really all there is. Obviously, you got to give props to Scorsese for the voice acting. It was top notch. I picked it out right away. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot he was in this, because when I heard his voice, and then when we got to the point where it's like walking, I'm just like, okay, come on, let's get moving here. And then we get to the start of Act 2, but it's just I wasn't blown away by it. I looked at it as passable for what it is. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. But considering everybody else in the theater was enjoying themselves, I was definitely not gonna get bogged down in some of the technical stuff, as I was just like, this would have been better on TV. But this is what we got.
Yeah, we move on to Act 2, which, in my opinion, I mean, I'd have to see the film again to look at how all the time lines up, but it's basically your, Mando getting gassed despite having a pressurized helmet on, and passing out to it, him fighting. I always forget the Hutt's name. What's the kid Hutt's name from the Clone Wars?
Rada,
that's it. We get the fight between them. We get them getting Janu, and then I'd say the first half of Nal Hutta is your second act of the film. And I don't mind even the fight. Like, I don't care how much CG has improved. The Hutt fighting stuff did not look good. It looked terrible. For a kid, they might find it funny, but visually, I didn't find it appealing at all. I didn't find it believable at all. I liked a lot of the parts that excuse me, Zeb had during this portion. The little that he was given, I thought Steve Blum did a really good job with. He was great in Rebels, though. He's one of my favorite characters, and I hope that anyone who hasn't seen Rebels that might have enjoyed his character specifically in this film decides to give Rebels a shot and to experience the rest of the show. But man, once we reach Nal Hutta, what a fucking snooze fest. I don't care about your big snake. I don't care about the twins. It might be the far and away the worst second act ever in a Star Wars movie, by a country mile. I felt like it dragged on. The movie in general is probably half an hour too long. I think if they tightened it up a bit, it might be a better movie. But yeah, I really don't have any other thoughts than that to keep my thoughts on Act 2 short. Zach, what do you think of the second act of this film?
Well, I'm going to disagree with a few things. Number one, how you're spacing the acts, because it very clearly shows a divide, and this is one of my biggest gripes on the editing side of things. When Embo captures Mando, they go to black after he takes off with him, and then they arrive with Embo's ship arriving at Nal Hutta. I would say if we're doing any kind of description of Act 2 finishes when Mando gets captured. And Act 3 is when they arrive at Nal Hutta and basically finish the movie at Nal Hutta. That would be my contention, is that we've got Act 1, that's the AT-ATs, the Adelphi base, and things on Shikari would be Act 2 bleeding over into when they get back to Adelphi, and when he goes back to his homestead, and then after he gets captured and taken from his homestead, and we go back to Nal Hutta. Nal Hutta Part 2 would be Act 3 of the film. So
that's an hour.
Huh?
That's an hour. The Nal Hutta part. So you don't think that's paced bad?
So if we're talking about segmentation of the movie and when the acts are and when the cutscenes actually happen, it cuts to black when Embo captures him and takes off with him, and then comes back with Embo's ship arriving at Nal Hutta. If that's not a scene divider, if that's not an act divider, I don't know what we're doing here. That is where the act break is, and it physically shows it as when the episode also would break. If we're talking about the episodic format, that is where the episode would drop off and where the new episode would pick up. So that is as clean of a break as you're ever going to find.
I think that again just goes to the pacing issue that you pointed out. That, you know, I agree with Zach in that, you know, the act break is when he gets captured, because it is sort of the delineation of the story, right? Like everything from that point is that, you know, the first act is escaping, you know, is all of the, like, the first act is the errata, you know, up until getting the Janu Coin job, and then
catch the warlord, get the new mission. Act 2 is the new mission complete.
Yeah.
Act 3 is he gets captured at the end of Act 2,
escapes Nal Hutta,
and has to be rescued from Nal Hutta is Act 3.
Okay, well, I'll fix it then. It's the worst third act ever in a Star Wars movie by a long shot.
Well, and if you look at it, really, you could almost take that third act and split it into two, because there you could, like,
exactly.
It's like you could, like, you know, you guys are saying this is where it cuts, and then the point where I looked at, you know, I'm not trying to skip ahead or anything, but when Grogu's trying to revive Din, like, there's that one part where he feeds him the antidote that I feel like that's where you would cut, and then the next episode you just you find out
would be all the action. Yeah, that would be an episode in and of itself.
Right,
is Grogu tailing Din and finding him, saving him, talking to the mystical swamp creature and reviving him, and then once they, you know, get all the armaments and stuff, like, the way I see it, we got two choices: we either run or we stand and fight. And you decide to stand and fight, cut to credits. Next episode is the actual standing and fighting.
I said it to Sean. It was after I got back from the bathroom, which I wish I'd have waited a little bit longer and skipped the entirety of the silent movie Grogu part. Instead, I get back right as Din is just about to go down, and, you know, I think he was in the water when I came back in.
He was.
After leaving, just after he got captured, I think. Because it was just right, because you said to me, what is the purpose of the mask when he got gassed? And then I said, I think this is the perfect opportunity to refill my drink and go to the bathroom. I wish I'd waited a few minutes, because I got back, and I think the first thing I said to you after that was, damn, I expected this to be a season of the TV show, but I really didn't expect them to keep in the filler episode. because I could have, like, we talk about pacing. Genuinely, you could have cut out 90% of the Grogu surviving in the swamp sequence.
Like, why did he
And-
have to go to the mystical swamp creature's house twice?
Yep.
Like,
He should have
goes,
been caught. He should have been captured the first time.
like,
not captured, but noticed the first time.
He should have been noticed and talked
Yep.
to the first time. Embo could have shown up during that first time, could have hidden, could have gotten the antidote that first time. Like, the whole going there, going back again, coming back again. Like, yeah, it did go on for too long.
And like that's sort of like, that was unfortunate for me, having just gone to the bathroom to, like, damn, I could have missed this instead.
Sorry, John. I just want to address a couple of things in the chat. I know Dustin wanted to be on tonight, but he has a newborn, and it's been hard for him to find time to go see the movie. On the Carl Weathers front, not only do they go to Navarro, they don't mention Grief Karga a single time. They could have addressed it. They could have written the character off, but in classic no balls Star Wars way, they just don't address it at all. I know there's the tribute to him with the obrush there over the door on Shikari, I think it is. But they don't address it at all. And he says, I might have missed this, but where do we see it going from here? Is there going to be a season 4 or another movie? I would be shocked if there's another movie. And I don't think there'll be a season 4. I think the next time you will see Mando, as long as Disney doesn't put the stop on it, it will be whatever way they choose to wrap up what's going on with Ahsoka and Thrawn and all that, and he'll be involved in that, because that's what the back half of season 4 Mando was going to lead into. This whole movie was essentially the first half of season 4, going all the way back to making Star Wars and Bespin Bulletins reports. The only difference was Boba Fett was a part of it. I wanted to say Slave One. I forget what the hell they renamed it, Firestorm or something like that. I don't know.
It's still Slave One to me. Damn it! I don't care what they renamed it.
They had the model, I guess the model for that built when they were getting ready to start filming season 4 before it got axed. The twins were involved. Now Hutta was involved. And then they were going to get into more of the Mando's story shifts towards lining up with Ahsoka. My guess is Ahsoka season 2 will not be the end of that story, and they'll do some sort of, I don't think you're going to see it as a movie anymore, but I think you'll see it some sort of culmination project, whether it's like here's a 4-part special or a 3-part special on Disney Plus or whatever.
It'll be a Defenders style crossover series where all your characters show up in one miniseries.
I think the format in which that is presented will all come down to where the final box office is for this.
For this movie.
I think if they make sufficiently enough that they cover the budget and they cover a sufficient enough profit that they're satisfied, I think you could still see that as a movie. It just wouldn't have the expectations. It wouldn't have the budget would be much smaller, more comparable to this film, which in and of itself was already a very slashed budget compared to typical Star Wars cinema fare. So I think you could see it on film if this ends up, I don't want to say being a juggernaut, but if it has a strong secondary performance. Like, we know the Memorial Day performance, we see those numbers and they exist and they're not great. It's the lowest opening weekend in Star Wars. We get that. But what's the follow-up? Does it tick up? Does it tick down? Does it stay neutral? Those are the questions that will determine whether or not we see more cinematic fare like this, or if it is just a Disney Plus thing.
I don't think it's going to be a bomb. I know we're kind of off on a tangent here, but I don't think it's going to bomb. Remember, they filmed Solo twice, so like Solo's actual production budget, just the production budget. I know all the people that love to give Star Wars gold stars for anything they put out are trying to tell you they've already made back all their money. They haven't. They're not even fucking close. Solo had a $400 million production budget because they basically had to film the movie twice.
Mhm.
That's before marketing and distribution. In order for Mando and Grogu to break even, it needs to make somewhere between 400 million and 425 million worldwide. Do I think it's going to get there? I do, but I don't think it's going to be much more than that. You know, there's people that want you to believe that this movie only needs to make 165 million, and those are the people that have no fucking idea what they're talking about in terms of the global box office. The marketing alone for this movie is an estimated 120 to 125 million dollars. So then you got to put that on top of the actual production budget. Then there's the distribution. Then there's the theater cut of it during the first opening weeks is more for the studio than it is the theater, and then the longer it goes, the theater gets more of a cut of it. And I think it'll do okay. Like, but I don't think it's going to be the type of thing that makes people go in terms of like the heads of Disney go, oh, you know, let's go and do a bunch more of these. Like, I think when they first were making a Grogu movie, let's be real, Mando, but they were hoping for Grogu. And I think Zach mentioned it. A bunch of people bought merch. I think it was you and I that talked about it a little bit, Zach. I think the movie's going to do fine merchandising wise, for sure. They're going to sell toys. You know, my kid got one.
I mean, the Burger King marketing was profitable for them.
So many toys. Like everybody's a sucker for Grogu. Like anybody from 5 to 25 is a sucker for Grogu. My wife is a sucker for Grogu. She doesn't fit in that age range, but she said the one thing that she enjoyed the most about the film was the Grogu moments. So for
My
some
wife's
people,
the same way. So
for some people who find Grogu's antics to be expired, you know, that's great, but you may be in the vocal minority in that, because there's a ton of people that go to the movie specifically to see the puppet be cute.
Not enough, clearly, though. I mean, merchandising wise, I think it's going to do great. I think people that don't go to see the movie and are waiting for it to go on Disney Plus or digital or however that's going to end up working out. I think I read July 20th or something. Is, you know, people, you're right, Grogu merch does sell. Not as much as it did 7 or 8 years ago, but it, you know, it moves. Hell, I went to Costco on the Sunday and my kid picked out 2 shirts and they both have Grogu on them. Obviously Mando too, but Grogu's there. So yeah, no, I totally get that part.
Let me genuinely ask though. Sorry to cut you off, but this is a genuine question. Like I'm not saying it sarcastically. I may sound like that, but I'm not. Because I go to places like Walmart and Target on a pretty regular basis, and I'm not part of like the action figure circle or anything like that. So aside from like the Legos that you can put together, what Star Wars merchandise is popular right now? Because the times that I've been to those toy sections, there's next to no lightsabers anymore. There's maybe a few action figures. There's an entire row of like Lego stuff, but there's not a whole lot of like toy blasters, masks, costumes, anything like that that's like on the Star Wars section of toy departments anymore that doesn't involve Grogu. Like, what is from the Star Wars universe that's not Grogu that is selling and is popular right now?
Black
Darth
Series?
Vader. Darth Vader still. Like, even in the Mando, like, if you look on, like, just the basic line, right, non-Black Series stuff, is you can get a bunch of Darth Vader stuff still. You know, it's a bunch of new Darth Vader stuff that's out there. They'll always go back to Vader, right? But yeah, no, I mean, unless there's a current project that's out, I don't recall ever seeing much for Ahsoka.
Even then, I don't even think there's a Mandalorian Grogu line.
Yeah, there is.
For the of action figures for the movie?
There sure is, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jensen just got one. Yep.
It's just like the Pops too, you know, like that they've got those. They had those released.
Yeah,
for
Pops.
The movie
Pops is another one that's big. That's
Funko.
not just Grogu.
I'm trying to think of the last Star Wars project that had like a specific line for it. It wasn't Andor, as much as I love that show.
I think it was Ahsoka.
Did Ahsoka have a line? I know Obi-Wan had a line.
Ahsoka did, because I saw a lot. Once that season 1 dropped, I saw a ton of Ahsoka stuff. Whether it was Walmart or Target or
capitalizing on it.
I wouldn't be shocked if the two most popular Star Wars items, and I don't mean in terms of money made, because obviously the expensive lightsabers and like hot toys and shit cost a fortune, but like just itemized speaking, it's probably Grogu and Vader. 1, 2. Those are probably the two most popular public figures for Star Wars, and which worries me though, because this movie is not going to make a lot of money, people, barring some miraculous turnaround in the theaters. This movie made less money than Solo on the same 4-day opening weekend, and movie tickets cost a ton more now than they did then. It's not great. It's not terrible. They did about what I expected them to do, but I think a lot of people thought this thing was going to be $1 billion film just because it was a Grogu film. And I'm telling you, it ain't hitting $1 billion. It ain't hitting $600 million.
No, not even close.
Even I didn't think it was going to go that high. Good Lord.
So, but hey, I don't know if you need to be. I'll use my sister-in-law as an example. She hasn't seen the movie, didn't see a bunch of the TV shows, but she loves Grogu and will buy Grogu merch. Right? So I think there's a lot of people out there that just go, oh, Grogu, cute. Let me watch some TikTok clips and shit like that. And people consume media differently now. And, I've seen this point made earlier today. And I do think it's a correct point. It doesn't matter if you're Star Wars or DC or Marvel or WWE or AEW or whatever. Getting people to go see something or watch something even at home is harder to do today than it was 10 years ago, no matter who you are. That's an uphill battle. Let's save some time and just let's talk about the rest of the movie, and we'll hand it off to Zach here, and anything we haven't talked about, feel free to go to. You brought up, I was trying to more look at the times because it's a 2-hour and 10-minute movie with credits, so really it's about a 2-hour movie. That means the third act, I don't remember the cutaway exactly in terms of like the black screen. It also might have been a moment I was trying to wake up my son. I can't remember. Kept trying to doze off, but I did look at
son, we paid too much for you to be coming here to take a nap.
Exactly. It's an hour, that last part of Nal Hutta. So like, it's kind of wild. But what did you think of just everything on Nal Hutta then to end the movie, dude?
Well, we kind of went into a debate about what are the acts, and I didn't really get to give much thoughts about Shikari. So
please do.
I'll do that briefly. I thought the gladiator scenes in Shikari were very creative, and probably, I would say, maybe my favorite part of the film. It felt very gritty. It felt very higher stakes, at least at that point. I did not know what Rada's fate was going to be, and it seemed like if Mando was going to survive, then maybe he would be plot fodder and could potentially die in that gladiator fight with all those other creatures. So I did have a bit of a sense of urgency for what would happen to Rada in that scene, and I actually kind of liked seeing a Hutt try to fight. It was something we have never seen in Star Wars before. So it's hard to judge whether those actions really looked bad or choppy or whatever, because we've only ever seen Hutts be slimy crime lords. We've never seen them be fighters. We've never seen them be gladiators. For all we know, he may be the first Hutt in centuries to have actually done any kind of hand-to-hand combat. And so I thought it was clever. I liked how one moment he is clashing swords, and the next moment he's using his tail for whiplash. There's one sequence in there where he kind of rolls to his side, and that's very similar to how an alligator or a crocodile will attack its prey. Is they'll latch onto them and then try to spin them in the water to disorient them and then potentially drown them. So there's actual real life fighting styles incorporated into the way that Rada fights, and I thought that was very clever. And then to have all of these different creatures that you're up against, one of them looked like a character out of Monsters Inc. Another one looked like a sci-fi Donkey Kong. Another one looked like something that you would see Sonic the Hedgehog fight. Like, there were all of these different references to
They
other
were all
franchises.
creatures from the Hollow Table.
They're all the
Yep.
Jarek characters, yeah. And so to actually see those taking place was really cool to me, and it gave me a lot of Attack of the Clones homages with the way that that gladiator fight took place, and I enjoyed that, the and the escape as well. It felt very Blade Runner. It felt very steampunk, and I enjoyed Shikari a lot. So Shikari may have been some of my favorite stuff in the entire film. Um, but for the final act, I know that we're getting crunched for time, so I'm gonna try to be as concise and without over judgment as I can. While I don't think that those scenes with Grogu by himself were um, you know the best part of the film, the movie title is The Mandalorian and Grogu. So to not have a scene with Grogu to me would be taking away from a portion of the title of the film. And so, even if I disagree with the way that it was executed or how much time that it took, I don't disagree that Grogu should not have had any adventures on his own, period. I think he should have had a moment to shine. I think that's a part of the reason why people were going to the movie in the first place. So you've got to give him his 15 minutes of fame, as it were. And they did. Um, the mysterious swamp creature who just happens to have the magical antidote. It kind of felt like a MacGuffin, and I wasn't super thrilled with that. But I I liked that it kind of was giving some Louisiana swamp type vibes. I actually noticed the perspective that they were doing, looking from Grogu's perspective up at the hut that was coming out of the grotto that was coming up out of the creek actually resembles the way that some of the homes on Caddo Lake are oriented. And so that person's homestead actually resembled East Texas, Louisiana the most out of the film, I think. So there were some parts of it that I did end up enjoying. Um, but then going to the final boss fight, uh, I had a friend in a different group chat say that this would have been great as a video game. And the more I think about it, the more I tend to agree. You have this opening fight where maybe you've got a cutscene in the video game where Mando crashes into the palace, and you start the gameplay by jumping out of the gunship, and you're fighting your way through the palace, fighting droids, fighting bounty hunters, fighting whatever other guards they've got in the palace until you get to the boss fight with Embo, and you're actually boss fighting Embo in your video game as like your final boss battle. And then once you win the boss battle, you then have to escape the palace that is collapsing from around you by going out a different exit, the way that you saw our heroes do with Rada. And so it's kind of interesting to see how it plays out as it is, because now that they have said it, I'm sitting here going, yeah, this was fun but somewhat predictable. It was expected. Our heroes are never going to be in peril, because if you kill off Mando, then Grogu is lost. If you kill off Grogu, you lose your merchandising. So nothing's going to happen to those two characters. But watching them escape now makes me wonder what it would look like to try to escape that sequence from a video game perspective. So um, there's definitely other insights and other inputs that are shaping my perspective on it still. But much like the first act fight scene was, this third act fight scene, I didn't feel any dire stakes, any dire implications, which I think allowed me to appreciate the choreography a little bit more, to appreciate the twins being offed, to to appreciate the sound design and the film score that was going on around it. Like some of the other things that aren't a part of the central plot, I was able to embrace a little bit more than I usually do. I'm not saying it was great. Like I said, I'm still probably hovering in like a 7 out of 10 rating. There are definitely critiques, but the stuff that they said they were going to do, it feels like they did. And so it's hard for me to say like, oh, this shit sucks, when they basically did what they said they were going to do. They were going to have a Mando and Grogu adventure movie, and this third act had Grogu moments and Mando moments. So it was a Mandalorian and Grogu centric finale.
You know, if there's one thing I can give them some credit for, and I wouldn't have been able to do it until I seen some of the photos today, is the way they lit Embo in the film. Now, I'm not somebody who gives a shit about Embo. Sorry, I don't. You can take your Clone Wars character and fucking shove it. He doesn't mean a damn thing to me, and I like the show. Um, when I think about, this being a video game, yeah, maybe it was the end of Act 1. If your video game is ending with Embo being the fucking final boss, there's a problem, which is the problem with the movie. But holy Christ, pardon my language, the costume for Embo is fucking terrible. It is something you would see out of Zombies. Sorry, Zach. Um, it looks downright bad. It looks like it's ordered from fucking Timu. Check it out. Terrible. But I'll tell you what, however they went about lighting that costume in the movie, spectacular job, because I thought he looked badass in the movie. But the actual costume itself in just broad daylight, oof, doesn't look good at all. But that's not what we've seen in the movie. What they presented in the movie, whatever techniques they used, kudos to them, because they made them look cool. And I think that deserves some credit. Yeah, I just didn't care for the Nalhada stuff at all. Like, none of it. It is a Mandalorian. Zach's right. It's a Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Terrible fucking title. We've been talking about that for 2 years. And there's some, look, just to, let me get this out of the way now. There's some people blaming the people that, just want to hate for the sake of hating. It's like, oh, Filoni's already mailed it in. It's done. It's terrible. This is not a Dave Filoni movie. Let's get that out of the way now. This is a Kathleen Kennedy movie. Kathleen Kennedy greenlit this movie. Kathleen Kennedy produced this movie. Kathleen Kennedy, who also produced Andor, though, too, just so we're clear. That's why she's been on the press tour. Dave Filoni was a second unit director on this movie. That's it. Those are your far away shots and close-ups and shit like that. Nothing of extreme value. That's Filoni's and assisting Favreau on maybe some writing here and there. That's it. That's Filoni's role in this movie. So let's not make it out to be more than what it actually is. My problem with that, though, is it's just not interesting. It's boring. It's lame. I just watched 24 episodes of The Mandalorian, and I'm not kidding when I say there's 20 episodes that I could sit here, and if my phone had more battery for us to go another hour instead of 20 minutes, I could tell you the 20 episodes, maybe I'll do that next week, that are definitely better than this entire movie. And that's a problem for me. Had you done a Mandalorian and Grogu movie that you could say, oh, well, that would have been like a top 5 episode. It should be elevated. And there are parts where it elevates, as Zach pointed out earlier. But it's just boring, frankly. And that's really all I have to say. I wish I could offer more value, but I don't want to drag it on any longer. And it wasn't for me. I hope it connects with kids. I would say, I didn't think the kids in our screening were in love with it, but it seemed like they enjoyed it. My kid enjoyed it, and that's a start. So, and you do need to appeal to a younger fan base. You can't just appeal to us old fucks. You do got to appeal to a younger fan base. So
Speak for yourself.
You're getting there, man. You're getting there. Johnny, I know you love to go on tangents here, but we're kind of cutting it on time. Give us your thoughts on the Nell Hutta portion of the movie.
In my opinion, the third act is meant to be the most important act of the film. It's meant to be the best act of the film. This wasn't. I think that everything that came before it was better. I think everything up until they captured John O'Coin was the best part of the film, and everything after that was it was all downhill from there for me. I feel like they had an opportunity to go in sort of a different direction than they went story-wise, and just kind of left it on the table. Like, they spent almost, and this is just me, like I'm sure that the numbers are grossly inaccurate, but to me it felt like 50% of Rhoda's dialogue was "I'm not my father."
That's because
you have an opportunity, to me anyway, to be like, once you eliminate, to me, and this was just me being me, like I felt like we were building up to Rhoda sort of deciding, I'm going to take back the Syndicate and I'm going to make it everything my father would have hated. You know, like, I'm going to make the Syndicate good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to do everything. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt like they were building towards that. Like, that's what I felt like was coming, that he was going to have this big battle with the twins, and he was going to wrestle back control of the Hutt cartel, and he was going to, you know, do good with the Hutts, you know? Like, with the cartel, and just, you're now leaving a power vacuum in a Hutt cartel that you're not going to come back to. Like, that's the problem here. Like, that is something that is very, I don't want to say necessary, but like, we keep pointing out how vast the reach of the Hutt cartel is, and you've chopped the heads off, and you're just going to leave the vacuum, and you're not going to come back and explain this in any sort of way. I don't think. Like, you know,
it's disappointing.
Like, if you had left it with, you know, if you had left Rhoda's story with, instead of, you know, him and Seb, well, I can find a uniform that'll fit you, you know, if he had, you know, sort of said, I took off the head, now I'll be the head, I will take it and I'll make it, you know, I'll make it something I will be proud of, not what my father created. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there was more storytelling meat on that, and it does sort of add another piece to the board that we're building up in the new empire, and, you know, and turning, you know, the assets of the Hutt cartel towards good instead of shady darkness, which, like, it just, I don't know. I felt disappointed in that. Like, there was no payoff. Like, you're just adding Rhoda to this cavalcade of extras that has no purpose, when there was a much bigger chess piece he could be occupying as the head of the cartel.
I thought they could have just done more with the Hutts in general. I know people are like, oh, we got a bunch of Hutts, but like, and I know Zach's not a fan of these games, but go look at the Knights of the Old Republic series, whether it's 1, 2, or the Old Republic. Those guys do a wonderful job with the Hutt cartel, right? Phone percentage is at 18, Randy. They do, you know. Did you have anything else you want to add quickly, Johnny, before we get to Randy? Because we still have final thoughts.
I just hated the entirety of the Deus Ex medical healer part of, you know, all of that. Like, it was silly to me. Like, we could have taken that entire filler out of it and I'd be happy. But yeah, no, there's nothing more I need to add that I'm sure we won't talk about again in the future.
We had more aerial combat that was fast forward and nothing meaningful and no struggle, and that has been a problem in everything not called Rogue One in the Disney or Star Wars movies. So, and even then, Rogue One, there's not a ton of it. It looks good, but it's crazy because I've just watched a bunch of different things on the original trilogy and the making of, and listening to this new Star Wars audiobook documentary that dives into how it was important to make things matter in terms of the space combat, and even if it's a character that you've just met recently, and they don't do any of that in the Disney era, and it's I don't know why they can't figure it out, but thought they could have, saved a little there at the end, but no, they didn't. It was terrible. Randy, give us your thoughts on Nil Hutta, buddy.
There's really not a lot there. I feel like for me, like the part I enjoyed the most about that whole section was getting to just see how much Grogu had grown from when we first seen him in episode 1 of The Mandalorian all the way till now, where he's actually self-sufficient and can do things on his own. Whereas, and the thing is, I would have really liked to kind of see those training montages where Din is training him and showing him things to do, and kind of we get to see him grow through that. But obviously, fast forward, and that's why it feels like
Mando
everything.
season 3, man.
But I mean, it's not as prevalent as it could have been. Like there was stuff in season 3, but I feel like between season 3 and this movie, there was a lot that we missed because he just seems like a completely different and more self-sufficient character than he was. Now, granted, there was, some technical things here and there where you could see different things with the animatronic they used where stuff didn't touch, things like that. But I did like the emotional, especially, watching it with my wife. I did like the emotional attachment of watching Grogu do everything he can to try to revive Din, and just like the actions he did, the sounds he makes that they always do. And I'm still, one of these days he'll finally speak, and of course that'll ruin that moment, and then we'll be like, well, what's the next milestone for Grogu? But beyond that, the action was cool. I did like the fight between Din and Embo. I agree with you. The shading and the shadows they used on Embo was absolutely amazing. That's why I said the difference between the stuff we saw on the ice planet, where everything's white, versus what we're seeing when they do the CG, but they use the use of shadows. Like when Embo catches Din because it's raining and dark, like that was done really well, and they made Embo look so much better than, like you said, you've seen pictures of what he looks like without the shading, and it's just, what the hell were they thinking? Beyond that, I was fine with the twins going bye-bye, but you're right, there's a power vacuum now, and it's going to be interesting to see if they, at this point, is it going to be a comic? Is it going to be a book? Are we going to see it in a video game? Because if it was a season, if this was season 4 and we were getting season 5, at least they could have told us that story and been like, okay, well, now that the Hutts are gone and their reach is diminished because of what happened in season 4, what's going to happen in season 5? And how does Rada actually add to the New Republic and stuff like that? Like, there's a lot of plot holes that they just kind of created for themselves. Now, granted, yes, we could get the explanations in comics or books, but honestly, because Mando's been visual, I would have loved to see it right there in front of me. Beyond that, I don't know why Johnny hated Grogu healing Din, because we know that power exists. We've seen it multiple times now, so it made sense for that to have that scene. But I digress. Beyond that, it just seemed like a paint by numbers action sequence, which is cool, which is fine. As long as it's done well, which some of the stuff was really cool. I liked the way that Din and Grogu interacted with those large droids, getting to the twins. I thought that they showed a nice little teamwork combo there, which is exactly what you would expect by now. Other than that, the ending was. I mean, that's kind of all there is to it. That it ended like an episode, and like Zach was saying earlier, the whole having just that start here, circle all the way back around, we're back to here, and that's really what it was. I'm curious. I know they're trying to say, well, parts of this movie are going to be are leading up to Ahsoka season 2. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Granted, we have to wait till next year for that, but.
So the only real tie-in that I see and I actually have to thank Star Wars Explained for this, because he had a really good, really concise 15-minute video that kind of helps you get caught up and better prepared. He actually did a scene from season 3 of Mando that I'd forgotten about, where Gideon is talking to like the Shadow Council, and the guy on the snow planet that he kills along with Lord Janu are both members of that holographic Shadow Council in season 3. So with Thrawn's return, he's going to try to take the Imperial remnant and put it back together, and there's going to be less for him to put back together now that a minimum of 2 of those lords got eliminated in this one film. So there is a little bit of that, power vacuum with the Huts that could be at play. There's also fewer members of the Imperial Remnant that's also at play. There's a few stakes, but we're really going to have to see exactly how much manpower, exactly how much firepower we're talking about missing by those 2 people no longer being part of the group chat. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much Thrawn would have wanted them a part of the group chat either.
He would have been like, acceptable losses.
Yeah, right. I will say this, Randy, if you get the time, go back and rewatch Mando season 3. I mean, maybe rewatch the whole series, but rewatch Mando season 3. I'm only making this point because I just mentioned seeing the season 3 episode 7 and 8 the morning of going to see the Mandalorian and Grogu. There's no growth with Grogu. There's none between the end of Mando season 3 and the movie. If anything, they scale him back a bit. Need I remind you, because I don't know if you've seen it in the last couple of years, but Grogu literally takes on the 3 Praetorian guards by himself, doing acrobatic shit to get out of the way and using the Force to push them in ways that you don't see him do anything anywhere close to that in this movie against enemies of that type. So, and I think that's one of the I don't even think Johnny's seen season 3, but that was a problem for me, is there is no growth for Grogu or Mando at all. And I get it. And I say this with the Halloween fans all the time. We want to be inside baseball as much as we can because we're diehards, but the movie's made for a generic audience, so they're not really considering Mando season 1, 2, or 3 while they're doing these things. For some of these people, the movie made, I think, $165 million or $164 million worldwide, opening the 4-day opening weekend. And I'm betting 50 million of that is probably people that have never seen all of The Mandalorian, if not more.
At least.
Yeah, at minimum. So, it's not a problem for those people, but for me, who sat through 3 seasons of the series, you want some payback in terms of that. And it's like what Dustin asked in the chat earlier. There's not even a mention of Grief Karga. You go back to Navarro, you can at least address the elephant in the room, and yeah, you give him the little Abrish writing on I forget the name of the planet already, the cool looking one with the great soundtrack.
Shakira.
Yeah.
Shikari.
Shikari, whatever. I mean, Shakira's
That music
great
don't lie, though.
too. But yeah, it is what it is. Like I said, it's not a movie for me. It just isn't in any way. And I kind of knew that going in, but I thought it'd be a little better than what it was. If it can hook some younger audience members in, then I think they've achieved something, at least. I don't think it'll be the box office hit they wanted to be when they decided they were going to do this. But yeah, let's go to scores out of 10, guys. I wish we would have time for Flixbusters, but I did not have time to do graphics today or anything like that. But let's give scores out of 10. I'll lead things off, see if I can set a bit of a baseline here, and then we'll go Johnny, Zach, Randy. It's going to seem low, but I'm trying to look at or think about the Flixbusters categories while doing this. And it's going to seem like I'm a hater. Hang on, can I show you how much of not an intentional hater I am. I spent money on a fucking t-shirt for this movie. Okay? I'm not rich. I'm not made of money. I'm not hating for the sake of hating.
Sean, this isn't OnlyFans.
Yeah, that might be an avenue worth pursuing. But I'm giving it a 3.5, guys. I am, out of 10. I think it's the worst Star Wars movie ever made, and that includes the Clone Wars. But if people love it, then I'm glad they love it. Someone should love it. There's so much hate out there in the world that my kid really liked it. So I don't think he thought it was the best movie he's ever seen, but he had joy with it, and the score was great. No problem with that. I did not think it was visually appealing. I did not think there's good acting in this movie, mainly because there's really no actors in the movie. The story was dull. There's no stakes. It's just a bland 4-episode filler, right? Like, that's how I feel. I wish I could give it a higher score. I'm not coming in here giving it a 0 or a 1, but I'm trying to be honest with myself, and I'd give it a 3.5 out of 10. It'd be a bust for me in the Flixbuster scoring system. Johnny?
Wow, look at you sipping that haterade. 3.5. That's
I see his mic
criminally
moving,
low.
but I do not hear him. Does anyone hear him?
Hello.
I hear him.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Oh, it's one of those nights now. That's wonderful.
It seems like it, yeah.
No, I mean, see now this joke doesn't hit now because if he can't hear me critique his score, and then I come in with like a score that's half a point higher than his, like I'm some moral high ground person. But like it's a 4. I mean, it's a 4 because of the music, and I don't have issues with the visuals. I liked the visuals, maybe just because it's big screen, right? Like everything looks better on the big screen, right? So, I mean, once we get this thing on Disney Plus and I'm watching it, on my monitor and my computer and my home screen, and, then maybe then I'll have a different take on the visuals, right? Because it'll be a much more a closer look and a more defined look versus the big screen. But yeah, it's a 4. It's nothing fancy. So yeah, I'm there. It's a 4.
He said his piece, Sean.
What was the score?
4.
4. Oh, okay. Fair. Fair in my opinion. Mr. Zach?
I'm trying to cobble together a Flixbuster score so I can be as accurate as possible.
All right, let's go to Randy. We'll give you some more time.
Okay, so as I said earlier, I'm not gonna, between whether it be Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes gave it I think they said it's at 62% now, and I think IMDb
to be clear on that, when it says 62% on
I know
Rotten Tomatoes,
it's basically them saying that 62% liked it.
Of their critics, yeah.
If I went by the Rotten Tomato meter, it'd be 88% of the fans liked it. And then, of course, but when you come to IMDb, they actually have it. I think the last time I looked at it was a 7.1 out of 10.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to give it the 7.1 out of 10, but I will say to me, I would say 6.8 out of 10. Like I said, I enjoyed it for what it was. I love the music. I enjoyed some of the action and the fact that my wife absolutely loved it and wants to see it again. That means I've done my job as a husband of pushing her over the edge of enjoying Star Wars along with me. So, but yeah, that's why I'm going to give it that. Obviously, I've had some of the same gripes that you guys did, but also some of the stuff I didn't look at it and take it to heart as much as you guys did in terms of a lot of the stuff you didn't like. So 6.8 out of 10.
6.8. That's so funny because we have 5 different criteria that get 20 points each, correct? It's been a while since I've done this.
Yes, sir.
So 5 criteria with a possible 20 points for each. I actually ended up giving it a 68 out of 100, which is a 6.8 out of 10. So
wow,
we may not have arrived at the destination via the same route, Randy, but yeah, surprisingly, it's a 6.8 for me as well. So I at the top of the show, I was hovering around a 7 out of 10, and it only dropped by 0.2 when I actually did an actual Flixbuster score. So I'm satisfied with that.
And I believe, I mean, Zach can correct me on my math here, but if you take my 3.5, Johnny's 4, and the both of your 6.8, and I believe a film to be a flick for us was always 60 or above. This comes in, although obviously Johnny and I scores bring it down, it still comes in as a bust when you combined our 4 scores together.
3.5, 4, 6.8, 6.8, 52.75 out of a possible.
That's where my math is as well.
Out of a possible 60. No, 40. 100? No. 21.1 out of a possible 40. So it's 21.1 divided by 40 is a 52.75%. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a bust on our scales, but it's still more than 5 out of 10. So
it's mid. It's mid.
I can't hear what Johnny's saying. What's he saying?
He's saying it's mid. That's basically what a lot of the reviewers are saying. It's either average to, not.
5 is the average. Like 5 is the middle point of the scale.
Yeah, it's not
right?
the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. I think it's the worst Star Wars movie I've ever seen. But it's not the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. I've seen Zombies and didn't even get to fucking review the thing. So,
don't give Zach any ideas.
It's coming. Another Zombies watch party is coming
next time.
Like hell it is. You know what? Sure, you can do a Zombies watch party on a week I'm not here.
Yeah, no, I'll say this. We'll do closing thoughts. My closing thoughts would be, if it gets some kids into Star Wars, then kudos to them. But I hope they never go this route with a Star Wars movie again. I think you need bigger stakes. I don't think the big screen is something for small stakes. Do that on Disney Plus. There's still a need for Disney Plus. Disney Plus is not shutting down. I have way more confidence in Starfighter than this. I know there's some stuff about what's coming after Starfighter that just came out over the weekend because a Hollywood Reporter got a hold of a Lucasfilm source. But, I'll say this, and I don't know if Dustin's still in the chat. If you had to force me to either watch this movie or James Gunn's Superman movie, I would watch James Gunn's Superman movie 10 times over again before I watch this movie again.
Oh, fuck that. No,
wow.
I'm watching this.
Yeah.
Fuck that. No.
That's how I
Fuck
feel.
no.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm saying that either. I wouldn't have thought that going into it.
Fuck.
I thought you liked that movie.
How do you sleep
reason.
at night?
Guns?
Yeah, for some reason I thought you liked it. I couldn't.
Guns, Superman.
Yeah, I thought you did.
That's an episode
James
for the
Gunn's
summer.
Superman or Casino Royale. Give it to us, man. We're dying for it.
Stick me with the poison that the swamp monster stuck Din with in this movie.
The correct answer is Superman.
The correct answer is...
I'm assuming can
Daniel
Johnny
Craig
hear
is
what
the
I'm
worst
saying?
James Bond.
Yeah, Johnny can hear you.
Johnny
You
can
can't
hear
hear
you.
Johnny.
Okay. Johnny,
Daniel Craig is the
Zombies
worst
or
James
Mando
Bond,
and
and I'm including
Sorry,
Mando and Grogu.
but
Johnny's taking Zombies. I would think.
I am not. God, don't you?
Yeah, I'm just speaking for him now.
Dishonor on you. Dishonor on your cow.
Still kept in the dark here.
No, it's terrible.
Randy, quick final thoughts, man.
This would have been a bit better served as a season. At least the start of season 4. Something should have expanded on. But you know what? I'm glad I got to see it in theaters. I'm obviously going to see it again next weekend. Not because of the birthday girl's going to want to go see it, but yeah. Other than that, if you love Star Wars and you just want to shut your brain off for a couple hours and just vibe out and go see it. If not, if you just want to wait till Disney Plus, that's fine too.
Johnny, I'm going to let you go next since I can't hear you. And that way I can actually hear someone's final thoughts. Your final thoughts, dude.
This movie is literally the epitome of mid. It's not great. It's not awful. It just exists. that is not what you go to the cinema for. That's not what you go to the theater. You know, like there's been this sort of argument over the last few weeks that people are like, well, you don't need to take big swings to have a movie. I could not disagree with that thought more than I do. I think if you're going to go to a theater, you need to be bringing something to the table. You know, whether that's something like pushing the technological envelope, a la, you know, like Chris Nolan, or whether it's being like David Lynch and pushing some crazy story. You know, like you need to be providing something that cannot be experienced from your couch to get you out to a theater. This film did not do that. I would have much rather sat at home and watched this on Disney Plus, because that's what it was. I felt like my money would have been better spent on a month subscription to Disney Plus than I feel going to that theater to watch that movie. That's what I think. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't so bad it was offensive, and it wasn't the greatest thing I've ever seen. You know, so like it existed. I don't go to a theater to exist when I'm spending, you know, at the end of the day, $50 or more to do the theater. It just was not worth the price I paid.
Well, I can hear you again, and you didn't have to spend $50 because it cost me 20 more. Thank you. Ugh. I told my kid, I'm like, every time we have popcorn at home, you better be using that bucket for it. Zach, finish us off, for the lack of a better term.
So many bad jokes.
I saw this movie in Dolby, which is basically an IMAX screen with enhanced audio. And it really helped me appreciate the sound design. The engines of the Razor Crest, the roars and the grunts and the moans of all the different creatures that we get, from the gurgling of the huts to the different creatures in the pit for the Dejeric match, to the shattering of the glass, to the blaster bolts going off. It was very interesting to listen to how intricate this movie was. What it lacked in story and scope, I think it made up for in some other aspects. And my highest rating on the Flixbusters was for the sound and score component. Goranson, like everybody has said, knocked it out of the park. But I think the sound editing also deserves some props, and that's one aspect we didn't talk about tonight. But the X-Wings sounded exactly like they're supposed to. The Razor Crest sounded great. The different types of explosions were unique depending on what type of bomb and who created it was. They didn't all sound like the same generic bomb. So there was some technical thought put into this film. It just got overshadowed by a lot of the other things, like acting and writing and, you know, some of those core elements that you need for a good movie. And so there are elements that I'm going to appreciate, that I'm going to defend, and there's going to be a soft spot in my heart for this movie a little bit, because it's the first one to have done any kind of filming or production in my home state. And so yeah, for those reasons and others, I'm not going to call it unwatchable, and I don't think I'm going to call it the worst Star Wars movie either. But there's definitely things about it that I'm going to gripe about, but I think there's just as many things about it that I'm going to end up defending as time goes on.
Alrighty, that's gonna do it for us. Randy, where can everybody find you at?
You can find me on X over to Giggity Giles, and if you guys want to have some fun and listen to people bullshit and drink and do stupid shit, just Google Sports and Brew, and you'll find the home feed on Podbean, no problem.
Zach, how about you, man? What do you got going on? Where can people find you?
Not doing a whole lot of sports stuff until the fall. I intentionally took the summer off, so you can still follow me at Zach the Voice, but it'll be travel pictures. We just got back from a trip to Puerto Rico, and we're about to go on a trip to Colorado, and we may do some other traveling this summer. So follow me for travel pics.
Johnny V, what about you, man?
Oh, you can find me here, there, and everywhere.
Means he'll be watching Zombies tonight.
Not even, never. You could not pay me to watch Zombies. Ever.
We'll see.
There is a very finite number of reasons to which I would ever watch Zombies again. They will not be met.
So if you had to watch Zombies or participate in Human Centipede.
Oh, God.
Now I'm going to assume
Mandalorian
in this
Grogu is
hypothetical. I'm going to assume in this hypothetical Human Centipede scenario, I don't get to choose my position in the centipede, do I?
You're the middle of the centipede.
Oh shit!
You know what? I'm not going to say the thing that entered my head there, because there's no way I would ever say that in something being broadcast to the world. But there was a thought that went through my head. That
subscribe to the Patreon to find out what that thought is.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Oh my God, this got weird. That's saying something.
At least he's not casting a Serbian film, you know? I mean, shit.
My goodness. So Zombies or Human Centipede? Which one would you watch next?
Which one would I watch next? Oh, Human Centipede.
Oh man, I can't. I'll go Zombies. I'm sorry to our friend Mad World who always used to reference that, but yeah, you can find us back next week. We'll probably talk more about the future of Star Wars then. I know there's some Crystal Lake stuff that's out there right now, some Friday the 13th video game stuff, some Halloween video game stuff. We'll get to all that next week and in future weeks. We're not far from House of the Dragon Season 2, less than a month. I think if Zach's schedule lines up, he'll be around a little more during that, hopefully, but you never know.
As many as I can. We don't have another trip planned after this one, so I should be around.
Looking forward to that. And then we got we'll do some sort of coverage on Toy Story and Spider-Man leading into the fall, and then we got the Halloween game release. So we're going to be around. We're going to be doing different things, and I know we thought we were going to be covering Ahsoka Season 2 in the fall, but that's not going to happen. And it is what it is. But for Randy, Zach, and Johnny V, I'm Sean, and to steal my buddy's line... Huh?
Wrong show, Zach.
Oh. To steal my buddy's line, we will see you next time